Hello and welcome back to This House of Walls. My name is Ashley, and on this channel I love to share all things homeschool related and books and everything else in between. Today I am going to be sharing our top 5 curriculums that we used this year. These are curriculums that just completely nailed it. There was no second guessing that this was the right decision for my children. As a homeschooling mom, I am not afraid to put a curriculum down and admit that that is not the right fit for us for multiple different reasons. But what I'm going to show you today, there was no doubt that these were amazing and fits the learning styles of my 2 children. Now, for just a little bit of background, if you are new here, I have 2 boys that I homeschool, and they are in 2nd and 6th grade. We are just about to finish. We have about 2 weeks left. We have not always been homeschoolers. Well, except my youngest has. He's since preschool, he has been homeschooled. We started because of the pandemic and thought that it would just be for a year and ended up absolutely loving it. We are about to go into our 4th year of homeschooling, and I mean, we're not looking back. It's fantastic. Now I am going to turn the camera around and give you guys a little flip through about the top 5 curriculums that we have used this year and what we love about them. All right, our first thing here is, it's not a main curriculum, but we love it. And this is Scholastic Daily Word Ladders. So we used grades 1 through 2 and grades 4 through 6. And so we did not finish them, and so we will be able to carry them on to next year. You can see at the bottom, you start with a word. Each step up on the ladder, you have a clue that gives you a new word that is built off of the first word until you get to the very top. So this is the 1st through 2nd grade, and then this is the 4th through 6th. So same idea, slightly bigger words, a little bit more difficult clues. I love that this gets my kids thinking about words in different ways, kind of some vocabulary, and having to kind of use context clues to come up with the next word up on the ladder. All right, our next should come as no surprise if you followed me here and have seen any of my videos or follow me on Instagram, and that is History Quest. Now, I am an affiliate with them because this is our 2nd year using them, and they are fantastic. So this year we have done the middle times. We will finish this before we are done with our school year. So it comes with this book that is to be read as a read aloud. So just to show you, there are 2 parts to each chapter. So the first part is kind of the background information about the time period that we are learning about. And then we get to a history hop, and this is where you travel back in time to meet somebody and learn more about that time period. So this is a great way. My kids love this read aloud. And then I also have the PDF version that I printed out of the study guide. This is what I use as mine. So you can see here, these are all the units. They do have different Hugo weeks. Not going to lie, we got a little bit behind in history this year, so we have kind of had to skip over them so that we can finish it in this school year. But I am hoping that next year we will be a little bit more into our schedule and be able to do all those Hugo weeks. And then here is the layout. So this is for Unit 4. It gives different resources and materials, if there's any kind of supplies that you might need, and enrichment reading options. It does give a unit schedule, terms and concepts. So we use this at the end of our unit to help review what really happened in the unit. And then this is broken down further, and so you can see what to do. This unit does include a map. There are create days. Again, we kind of got off of doing them, so I'm hoping to be better next year about doing the create days. And then we always kind of go over some of the questions, and I do type up, and I'll show you in a second, I type up the copywork and dictation. So the first passage I always use as copywork, while the second passage I do as fill in the blank. And then there are ways that you can enrich each unit. So this is how I have set up my kids' history notebooks. And so they have the front that they covered in at the beginning of the year. And then just for an example of how I set it up, so this is map 11. We actually just did this week. So we will fill out the map together. This is our history hop. They colored the picture while I am reading, and then they glue it in. We do the timeline and the map, and then we fill out the back. Then this is where I have typed up the copywork and dictation, and so at the end of our week, we will fill that out. So both my kids have those. Then they also both have these timelines from School Nest. We love these timelines. They are fantastic. And so you can see, get to a part what we, yep. So every week when we are reviewing what we have learned that week, we will pull this out and add to it. All right, now we are going to continue using these for both my kids for next year. They both love it, and we are able to have amazing conversations as we are reading together. Especially with my oldest, we can really stop and talk about why something might have been done a certain way, and things like that. We are super excited to move on next year to U.S. history. The next curriculum that I have to show you is Math with Confidence from Kate Snow. So my second grader used the second grade level this year. The third grade one is coming out at the end of June. I absolutely love this. So let me just give you a quick little flip through of the instructor guide. You do need both the instructor guide and the student workbook. All right, so just as an example, here is for week 8. So you have a very detailed overview about what is going to be taught this week and if there's any extra materials or anything like that. And then it is a 4-day week with the 5th day being optional. So you can see here is day 1, and it lists out all of the things that we will be covering. There's a little note because we're dealing with money. And then it starts with a warm-up. And so this is just good, fantastic review that you can do with your child. Then there is an activity. And this is where the main chunk of the lesson is being taught. Now, this one doesn't have a game, but I will try to show you on here in a second that does have a game. It is amazing that a lot of times after the lesson, there is a game before you get to the workbook. The workbook pages are just front and back, and I will show you what they look like in a second as well. All right, so here is an example of a game. So this is just on lesson 8.2, and so same thing, you have the warm-up and the activity that you are learning for that day, and then ending with the game and the workbook pages. So this is a fantastic way for my second grader to learn. He loves the hands-on approach, he loves the games. The workbook pages, he has gotten better as he has been aging this year about doing the workbook pages. All right, and then here is lesson 5 for this week. And so this is why it's an enrichment and review day, and it is optional. We tend to not do these. He picks up on the concepts really well, and Fridays tend to be our busier day that we are going to the park. You can see same kind of concept, that there's a warm-up. This, instead of the big activity and lesson, is a picture book, and then there's enrichment activity. And then there is an answer key for all of the student work pages. At the end of every unit, there is a big checkpoint so that you can go through and make sure that your child has learned all of the concepts and is ready to move on. And then at the beginning of each new unit, it goes through a big, huge overview of what will be taught during this unit, and if there's any kind of extra things that you might need. It does tell you the picture books that you could use, and then it goes into the new unit. Then just to show you a flip through of the student workbook. This is from week 8, which I had just shown you. And so the front of the worksheet here is the new material that was taught during the lesson. And so for here, he's counting up money and putting how much money there is. On the back of the worksheet for that day is all review. And so it has a wonderful spiral review for every single day. And here to just show you that there are game boards that are used. And so a lot of times those game boards will be in the workbook. I do have them printed out separately, and so we tend to just use those because then we can reuse them as many times as we want, because I have them in a plastic page protector. So here's to show you, I have them all in here, and then we can write on it whatever we have to do, and then we can reuse it. So another thing is my son loves that this is a bright and colorful workbook without being too busy. We have tried a couple of other bright and colorful maths that they get too busy, and it takes away from the actual amazing math material. So as you can see, all the different units are rainbow colored, and so my son loves when we get to the end of a unit to then move on to the next color. We are working towards the end, so we're in our last unit, and then this will be our review week, and he is so excited because these are the rainbow pages at the end that he is working towards. Now to move into some language arts. This is first language lessons for the well-trained mind. My second grader was using level 2 this year. I love this very classic, gentle approach, but I say gentle lightly because it is gentle in how it's taught, but he has learned so much from this. It is not the most exciting curriculum to look at. It is all black and white, but what is in here is so great that we don't need anything else. Now, he does have this little notebook because there are some days where we have to write some things down, but that is not the main part of the lesson. Now, when we open up to the table of contents, if you want, you can pause and take a look at all the different lessons. The amazing thing about this program is that there's memorization, they learn dictation, story narration, there's picture narration, all kinds of wonderful things while still teaching a very great grammar program. And so here is lesson 1 where we are learning nouns. And so you can see here is where the instructor says something and then we say it together. And so we're talking about what a noun is. And so the instructor again, together again. And then down here you can see where, there's a prompt for the instructor. And then here is where the student has an answer, and their answer should somewhat resemble what is written here. So we go through this lesson, and then it goes back here, and then here is one of the poems that the student can memorize. To be honest, we did not memorize any of the poems this year. It just wasn't our main point of focus, but that's okay. We still were able to talk about all the different poems, and he got some great experience with poetry. And then here is an example of copy work. And so you pick one of these and they copy it. And then sometimes there's an enrichment activity. So to go with that, here is from that lesson of copy work. So I wrote it down and he copied it. And this was at the beginning of the year, and he made such amazing improvements at the end. So here's an example of one of our very last lessons. This was a dictation, and it had 3 different sentences that I dictated to him one at a time, and he wrote down. So I am so thrilled by his progress in this, and I know that in 3rd grade, even though we are switching, and that's more of his choice, I ask my kids' inputs on curriculum, and they have an interest in something else. So I am very sad then that we will be leaving first language lessons, but I know that it has set him up so that he will have a great 3rd grade year. All right, my very last curriculum that was a total hit this year was IAW Structure and Style. I don't know why I kept dragging my feet before using this program, but this was our first year using it, and my 6th grader will not finish this. We have taken it a lot slower than what is recommended, but he has made such amazing progress. It's a wonderful program, and I will be continuing it with him. And then when my youngest gets older, he will be doing this program too. So you can see I actually have it all set up for week 13. And so we just pull out the worksheets that go with week 13. And it does give day-to-day schedules. We don't necessarily follow this, even so much that we don't follow the video times, because 42 minutes is just too long for my 6th grader to sit there and watch a video. And there's even a lot of pausing that happens so that he can work on an outline or something in the middle of the video. I like to keep our lessons smaller to about 15 to 20 minutes. So that is why at the end of the school year, we have only made it to week 13, but I'm thrilled with his progress. So in this week, he has this. It comes with a couple different worksheets that he watches the video and they go over everything. This does have a couple different source texts. And then at the end of all the lessons, he has to write a paper, and it comes with a checklist so that he can go through and make sure that everything is in his paper that he needs to before I take it and check that everything is there. Now, it does have a lot of dress-ups, and so if you're familiar with this, you know that there are a lot of dress-ups in his writing. So I tend to say, okay, out of this bunch here, just give me one, and down here, give me one. And if there's something new, I want it in every paragraph. And then when he's done, we put everything into the correct tab in his notebook. So here's everything other than the word ladders. I just couldn't fit everything back onto the table all at once. I love sharing what works for us because I love being able to go on and see curriculum and see if it could possibly work for our family. And so I hope that this is helpful for you. I know for me, I am at the point in the year of reflecting back. I do already have my curriculum for next year, and I will link them above if you are interested in watching those. But in the meantime, it's nice to sit here and see all the amazing progress that my kids have done with the help of some amazing curriculum. On that note, if you like these types of videos or anything book related or anything like this at all, be sure to like and subscribe below, and I will be back for more soon.